Mary, Mary, quite contrary, respun by yours truly, Nanika Edwards. And who do we have here? That's right, that's Mary, Mary. Do you remember this nursery rhyme? Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Can you spot the cockle shells? They're on the right at the bottom. And can you recognize the silver bells? That's right, they're right next to Mary on the left hand side of the screen, right? So we see Mary in her garden, and maybe this picture, maybe this illustration would bring back memories. Depending on how old you are, okay? Or, well, you're not, depending on your age, right? Most people watching this video would probably be pretty young. But this video is for people of all ages, so it doesn't matter. Maybe this picture brings back memories, either recent or from long ago. So here is the original nursery rhyme. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. And here is my respun or rewritten version, as in rewritten from a different perspective. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, why do they call you so? With silver bells and cockle shells, your name should be Pretty Glade Maid Joe. What did you learn by comparing those two different versions? Here's my version again. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, why do they call you so? With silver bells and cockle shells, your name should be Pretty Glade Maid Joe. And a glade is like a clear space in a forest. That kind of thing. That's a glade. So yes, what did you learn? Yep, that's right. Be careful what people call you. Be careful with the labels that people may try to apply to you, whether well meant or not. Just be careful with how people label you or how you respond to those labels. So, in the original version of this nursery rhyme, Mary, Mary is asked, how does your garden grow? Mary is asked, how does your garden grow? And she said, with silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. And in my version of the poem, I'm questioning, why are they calling you Mary, Mary, quite contrary? Contrary can mean difficult, different, but in a problematic way. In Trinidad, contrary means somebody who's difficult, who can never agree with anybody on anything, who just likes to be difficult for no good reason. So that's a kind of connotation I'm giving it here. So Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. So I'm questioning, why is she being called quite contrary? And I'm actually saying she should be called Pretty Glade Maid Joe, not Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Right? Quite contrary does not really apply here. Now, why would they be calling her contrary? That's a good question to ask, right? Why would they call her quite contrary? Well, maybe because she's growing silver bells. Who's ever heard of somebody growing silver bells? And who's ever heard of somebody growing cockle shells? or quote and unquote growing. But what's wrong with that? You know, people have rock gardens, people can beautify their green spaces with seashells and things like that. So, you know, with painted rocks, even. So, what's wrong with what Mary is doing, and why would somebody call her quite contrary? So, you know, one thing we can learn from the difference between these two versions is that we need to be careful what labels we accept when people name us things that we are not, especially when people name us things that we don't think that we are. Just because somebody says you're stupid doesn't mean you're necessarily stupid. I've had many people, well, maybe not many, but in my life, I've had people tell me that I was stupid, and I am by no means stupid. 100 books later, I am by no means stupid, right? And I remember when I was in elementary school and primary school, as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, when I was in primary school, at one point, I was put on the duncy side of the class. Yes, in those days, we had the bright side and the duncy side of the class, right? And usually I was on the bright side of the class. However, there came a time when my teacher, this was probably like the fourth year of elementary school, so what we call standard two, and it was either standard one or standard two, so either the third year or the fourth year of elementary school or primary school. And at one point, my teacher did a lesson on telling time using an analog clock. Of course, back then we didn't have digital watches, or at least back then we didn't have cell phones, and you know, using analog clocks was a thing, a regular thing. So we had to learn how to tell the time on an analog clock, you know, a clock sometimes round with the hands that you can see, right? And that you can tell what the time is based on where the hands are pointing on the clock, right? So the teacher at the time taught a lesson on analog clocks, and I just couldn't get it. I didn't understand, maybe partly because I'm not so hot with numbers. I'm not very good with numbers. And maybe she just, I don't think I should I don't think I should carry the weight of not understanding. Maybe she did not explain in the way that she should have, you know, in a way that I could have understood. Anyway, she put me on the Dunsey side of the class. Long story short, and by the way, I didn't tell my parents. I was so ashamed. I felt so badly. So I didn't tell my parents. But it so happened that around that time, my auntie Julie, now deceased, Auntie Julie, you know, she passed away some years ago. She's no longer with us. But Auntie Julie visited my family. She visited from New York. We, of course, were in Trinidad, but she visited from New York. New York. I don't know. There was something about Auntie Julie, I guess, that made me feel I could tell her. And I told her, I said, Auntie Julie, I think I may have whispered it too because I didn't want my parents to hear. But I told her, Auntie Julie, the teacher put me on the Dunsey side of the class, and she responded in such a classy way. She didn't even tell me, what? The teacher did what? She didn't say anything like that. She just said, do you have a clock? I said, yes. I believe we had an owl clock at the time, or even a cardboard clock. We had an owl clock and we had a cardboard clock that were toy clocks, right? And so I got one of them, I'm pretty sure. And Auntie Julie very patiently and methodically explained to me how to tell time on an analog clock. I don't know if she said anything to my parents. I have no idea. But thanks to Auntie Julie, I was put back on the bright side of the class. So you see how silly that is, right? Um, I mean, I think the teacher should have put herself on the duncy side of the class, because how could you be moving somebody back and forth between the duncy and bright side of the class? And in fact, how could you have a bright and duncy side of the class in the first place? That was very backward. Anyway, um, I'm sharing this story to say I accepted the label that was applied to me. That's why I felt ashamed. I was too young to really properly process everything, and I didn't have any adults in my life speaking to me in the way that I'm speaking to you now. So I really couldn't, or at least maybe I didn't have the personality to tell myself, at least not at that time. I do now though, but at that time I was too young, inexperienced to realize that the teacher was not going about things in the best way, and that really I didn't realize that the label that the teacher had applied to me, her definition of my intelligence, was not only stupid but completely off mark, completely off target. So I say this to say, kids, sometimes in life at an early age, life will have a way of telling you that you're not this enough, or you're not that enough, or you are this and you are that, and all kinds of negative things. You have to be so careful not to be quick to accept labels that do not apply to us. Right? I guess when I think about it looking back as a child, I should have realized, well, I was on the bright side of the class. How could one lesson going wrong suddenly make me dunce? What the teacher was basically saying, if you don't understand everything, you are a dunce, which is not true. Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything, right? So you don't have to know everything to be intelligent. Knowledge is an ocean that no man can drink, okay? No man can drink. No man can drink the ocean. And even if you can't drink the ocean, there's still a whole galaxy of stars, an ocean of stars that you have to drink after that. So nobody except God can drink in all the information that there is to be had. So be careful with the names that people call you. Make sure that you speak kindly to yourself. And I want to say, kids, you are smart, probably smarter than a lot of adults. Just like I was probably smarter than the teacher who put me on the duncy side of the class. If I were the teacher, I would have never even conceived of separating children and telling some that you are duncy and some that you are smart. That is very damaging, right? That is very damaging at any age, and especially when you're very young. And these things can scar people for life, okay? So just know that you are beautiful, you are intelligent, and you have the potential to do great things if you make good choices, especially early in life, and if you consistently make good choices. You are beautiful, you are smart, you are unique. You don't have to be like anybody else and like everybody else. Just be you. Just be the best version of yourself. And if you don't like who you are, don't tell yourself, just be you. Change, make different choices, and work towards becoming the person that you should be, okay? So, Mary really wasn't contrary. She was unique. And that is a more accurate label. When I say life sometimes tries to tell us things that are not true, I'm really referring to an enemy called the devil. He is real, and even though you can't see him, he is real. Just like even though you can't see God, God is real. And the enemy sometimes works very hard to sow toxic and damaging and poisonous seeds into our heart from an early age so that he can make our lives difficult. And one of the ways he does that is by misdefining us. So once you know his tricks, you can outsmart him, okay? Don't let the devil have his way with you. Remember, you are smart, you are unique, You are beautiful. You are cute. You are lovable. You are loved. Even if you think you're not lovable, you are loved. And let me tell you, even if you feel nobody else loves you, just know that God loves you because He created you. And when He created you, He said, wow, this one is a masterpiece. This one is a masterpiece, right? So just know that you are a work of art and you were created to do good and great things in God, through God, by the grace of God. So that's it. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, respun. You can find my version of this poem along with the original version in my book on Amazon, Nursery Rhymes Respun Critical Thinking Rhyming Fun. Why did I write this book? Because there's more to thinking than most people think. And what I mean by that is most people do not think. Most people do things like robots automatically without really thinking through things properly. And I know that does not sound very nice, but believe you me, it is the truth. And this channel is all about speaking the truth, even if it hurts or even if it sounds bad, because the truth does not always pander to our feelings. The truth does not always stroke our feelings the way you might stroke a pet cat or a pet dog. No, the truth is the truth. And even if it hurts, the truth will always tell you the truth. And there's more to thinking than most people think. Nursery Rhymes Respun, Critical Thinking Rhyming Fun is a book that can help you learn from an early age or at whatever stage you're at to think critically, to think analytically, to think smart, to think deeply, and to think with logic, to think with rigorous logic. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, thank you for giving it a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing it with other people. And thank you for subscribing. Until the next time.